Hey, welcome. This is Dave Kohlmeyer, the Problem Solver. Today, we're doing an update, real estate market, Las Vegas, what's going on with the government, Trump, and all the good stuff. Today, as usual, I have some great people. I have Steve Hawks, realtor for how many years? 20-something years?
Long time.
Long time. And since he was 18 years of age. Then we have
long time.
Then we have the Cambodian princess. We have John T. in the house.
Hello. Hello, hello.
Then we have my beautiful wife, Camellia.
Hello.
Everyone's like so shy and proper.
We're shy.
Anyway, so welcome everybody. Basically, I felt this was a good time with Trump, everything going on, update in Vegas. I get confused every single day I'm watching the news, so I wanted to bring up the topics and stuff like that and see what each one of us has to say, because I think we sometimes can feel different or have different experiences. So Steve, I know you're big with the economy and stuff like that. Tell us what your thoughts with the tariff, with Trump, what's going on right now.
Oh, wow, that's a loaded question.
I know. So you got to break it down. So what tariffs? People are all up in arms about the lumber tariff and the tariffs. Actually, lumber's gone down. Mm-hmm. People do their research. The USDA just allowed loggers to start cutting wood in America. So guess what? Now Canada's not going to be able to charge whatever they want because they have no competition. Now that we have all this wood that they're going to cut down to clean out the forest, hey, that's a bright idea. How about instead of letting all the wood burn, how about we cut it down before it burns and clean out the forest and use it to build homes? That will bring down the cost. Wow, what a concept. And that's what's already happened. Lumber as of today is down double digits. And what it makes Canada do is be more competitive, because Canada could basically call the shots on the price they want to charge for their lumber because there was no competition, because the government wouldn't let loggers cut down wood in the forest. And now that's changing. So that tariff right there. As of today, all the tariffs have been paused for 90 days except for China. I'm not an expert on tariffs, so I went to people that were expert on tariffs. I asked China, hey, how do tariffs work for you? Oh, great, we're the second largest economy in the world now. Hey, Germany, how do tariffs work for you? Oh, great, after World War II, we've become the strongest economy in Europe. Tariffs. India, how did you rise so quickly? Tariffs. Japan, after World War II, how did you do it? Oh, tariffs. Oh, and by the way, we were one of the largest economies still today, and the second largest in the 80s because of tariffs. So all these people that use tariffs love tariffs. Mm-hmm. So why don't we at least try it and see if it works? Because it's worked for every other country, and it's helped their economy. And at the same time, if you want free trade, then why don't we have true free trade? Don't charge us,
right,
and we don't charge you. We're
right,
not charging.
Right.
I think some of our tariffs are 2% or 0%, but yet these people are complaining about tariffs when they've used it to build their economy.
Charging us about 200+%, correct?
Yeah, Canada charges 250% on some things.
Yeah. How's that fair?
Yeah, and then this isn't like rocket science. There was people when they had the decision to fix this in the 90s, you had Chuck Schumer, you had Nancy Pelosi, and for those people that remember, Ross Perot. Ross Perot said all these people predicted, if you do this, this is what's going to happen, and this is exactly what happened. Manufacturing is gone. Mm-hmm. Look at China. Look at Vietnam recently, right? Look at Vietnam. Vietnam is a huge winner of tariffs lately, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, Nike's making all their shoes there. That's one company. A lot of companies going there. Why? Tariffs. India.
Cambodia too, though.
What are
Cambodia?
your thoughts about what President Trump said? He said if we collect enough tariffs, maybe we won't have income tax eventually. What do you think?
But if enough tariffs come in, he's saying, hey, anyone that makes $150 or lower will take out no income tax for you. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, if you had a choice of paying income tax or paying maybe higher for some items, I'll pay for higher for some items, right?
Me too.
So, I mean, because that eliminates the waste, right?
Yeah.
So,
I have some, people that follow Trump, and of course, some of them from Canada. They're like always against Trump. Like, you really don't know unless you're following it every single day. What's good, what's bad. Like, hey, give the guy a shot. At least he's taking some action. Where I feel like the last president wasn't taking action. You have things basically like you feel like he's protecting the U.S. more, but we don't really truly know.
Well, look who's supporting the tariffs. The middle class. Look at the unions. Almost every union is supporting them. The auto worker union. I mean, how often does the president of the UAW come out and support what something the Republican president does? Well, he just did that. Okay, so quit listening to these people that have these $50 million, $100 million portfolios and are saying, oh yeah, tariffs are bad. No, maybe they're bad for you. Okay, but what about the middle class? What about all those people that had jobs that no longer have jobs? And just like what Ross Perot said, just like what Nancy Pelosi said, that's exactly what's happening. You know, millions of jobs lost. 10 million jobs Nancy Pelosi predicted China would take if they allowed this to happen, what they did. And that's exactly what happened,
Why
except
did
more.
they allow it to happen in the first place?
Right here, these lobbyists. How do you think these senators and a lot of these senators and congressmen become, you know, they go in worth $1 million and they come out worth 150, 200 million. Let me tell you something. That's not insider trading, because now we know how much these politicians are trading, because you can go on many of these sites and find out how much these politicians are trading, right, on stocks. And you don't become, you don't get to be worth 150, 200 million by trading stocks or buying stocks of $500,000 here, $1 million here, right? How did you become worth all this? Well, you open up companies and you become profitable, worth a 50, 100 million by opening up these companies, and the money is directed towards you. Hey, you know what? Why don't you push this through and we'll give you a piece of our company?
Yeah. And they have to make it legitimate, obviously, because they know that people may be, you know, questioning it like they are now, correct?
Well,
The people that's made, you know, $200 million, $500 million, that's in the government. That's supposed to only be making $250,000 a year.
well, in
correct?
the well, now we know, because look, they had in the past they had the advantage of burying everything in paperwork and hiding this and LLC this, LLC that. You couldn't follow it, right? Well, now they didn't expect AI to happen, right? Now look at AI. AI can find out like that. They can trace every single, once that dollar's put into a bank account, they can start tracing that dollar now, where it goes and how it goes to family members. How are all these family members worth so much money? You know, what board are they, what boards are they serving on, and why are they being on these boards, and why are these companies being created? I mean, look, I can go back to the REO days, the bank-owned properties, and there were a lot of people opening up nonprofits so they could get government money. Well, who are they partnering with to get that government money? The people who are in charge of getting the money. And guess who just the other day we saw that some of these government entities are firing people for fraud for these false entities.
Right. See? It's all revealing itself.
It's actually interesting because Elon Musk wasn't there with this whole Doge. Like, it just seems like it would just keep continuing. Like, nobody really knew
Well, it's
what was
not
going on.
Doge. It's somebody that went in there with AI. Like Elon Musk, Doge doesn't really need him anymore, because AI's already, now any 20-year-old kid can do it. If you think about it, Elon Musk maybe be the head of it, but the real brain trust are these 18 to 25-year-old kids that know how to use AI real well, right? Once AI is in there, it's game over.
Like,
you can't hide no more.
Look for people that are dead that are now.
Yeah, you can't hide
Continue
this.
taking
Social
salary.
Security.
Yeah. I mean, if you saw that interview with the people on Doge, it wasn't 18-year-old kids, 19-year-old kids. It was billionaires that left their companies to come and find out what's going on. There was just this, and it was Democrats and Republicans. It was bipartisan. There was this Democrat that was they interviewed him on the All In podcast, and I forgot his name, but he was a big Democrat donor. And he went in there. He said, "Listen, I couldn't believe what I saw." He was the guy that discovered all the Social Security numbers and stuff, and he did a big presentation on with the graphs. And this guy's bipartisan. It was a big Democrat donor, still is. He's like, it doesn't matter. This isn't a party thing. This is an America thing. This is my country. We can't continue to do this. And he's one of the guys that found all the fraud for the Social Security and stuff. Bipartisan.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Democrats need to hear that.
Yeah,
They're
well-
not listening to him.
Well, well, there's two sets of Democrats, right? There's the normal, traditional Democrat, and then you got these crazies, right? And that's not my opinion.
Yeah.
The traditional, normal liberals are saying, like Anna Kasparian, and she's the top, one of the top podcast liberals, right? She's saying, listen, you know, what you're seeing over there, especially California, that's not liberalism. That's crazy progressive. That's craziness.
Yeah.
And she's one of the most outspoken people about some of the policies that California is doing. And she even said the party that's hurt my family the most is not the Republican or Trump, but it's the Democrat Party in California. The ones that are, and she said this isn't me. You know, and I used to live in California. A lot of people live in California. This is Anna Kasparian saying this is what their policies are doing. And look at that, what's his name? Bill Maher. He's a Democrat, but he's saying that's not me.
Oh, that's
so,
right.
So you have to say, you know, this isn't the traditional Democrat stuff.
Should we be concerned being in Vegas that a lot of people from California has migrated here or is migrating here?
Well, you can already see some of the stuff that happening. I mean, try and pull some of these permits. They're making it hard to build stuff in Vegas. Our school system is similar to a lot of the schools in California. And a lot of these companies aren't coming here now because of our school system, right? So we're losing out to Utah. We're losing out to Phoenix. One of the top places companies are going now is Phoenix because of their high tech and their education system. And same with Texas. I mean, if Vegas had an education system, a good education system, we would blow up with all the tech companies and stuff.
Interesting.
And
How
I
do you
feel like a lot of policies for tenants, landlord is kind of coming from California, unfortunately, some of the negative stuff coming here where eviction's getting a little bit harder.
Yeah,
Is it?
you know how many...
Are they imposing those things here
I
now?
think they're starting.
They're trying to push through. They're trying to put in rent control. Do you know how many places rent control has been successful?
I think there's
Zero.
none.
Okay.
Zero. Yep, they still look at
trying.
California. Do rent control work for you? No. In fact, I've been telling forever how rent control is horrible for California. Look how many vacant houses are in California. People don't want to rent them out. It's better for them just to not rent it than put a tenant in there because the prices are going up. So I'll just make the capital gains because it's not worth putting a tenant in there. And now, what I've been saying for 10 years during California Nexus programs about how rent control is hurting California, and there's 2 million vacant houses per the census. Well, guess what? The Wall Street Journal just did an article on LA County alone has 200,000 vacant homes because people don't want to rent them out. They're good homes, but people don't want to rent them out because they don't want to do all these regulations. They want to be able to charge what they want to charge. They want to be able to kick people out when they don't pay or they ruin the property. And this is the Wall Street Journal. Well, we've been saying about this for years, but now the elite and the wealthy can't find houses to put their families in, so now they're complaining about these vacant houses. Well, you voted for these policies. I mean, they told you what they're going to do, and they've done it.
Right.
And now they can't. Who wants to build in California?
You're saying they basically you don't want to rent it out because you feel you're going to have more problems with the tenant.
Yeah,
Yes.
and see,
It's harder to evict. They could sit there for a year and not pay you.
a year. I have friends that own
3 to 5
houses
years.
in California for 3 years, 4 years, fourplexes. The judge said, "Hey, pay this guy $70,000 and kick him out in 6 months." Okay, well, he got 6 months and $70,000, and even after that, the guy's still there. And that's a fourplex. And then I have friends and clients that are letting their houses sit vacant in California right now, even though they could rent them for 10 to 15, sometimes 20,000, but they're worried about that, getting busted for inflating the rent. Well, if I can't rent it for what it's worth, and I got to take that risk, and then LA might pass a law where if you're a fire victim, you can't be evicted for till 2030. Why? You wonder why people can't find houses, and then on top of that, good luck trying to build in California.
Well,
and then in LA County, if I do want to build and I sell, I got to pay that mansion tax. Are you out of your mind? That's why people are letting houses sit vacant because their price of their houses are going like this because you wiped out thousands of homes because of the fires. You're not building because of crazy policies. And then thousands of people in LA County, thousands of people are just letting their houses stay vacant, which is making that prices go up even more because people want to buy. Well, I'm just going to let it sit there. It's no different than buying stock, buying Bitcoin, or buying gold. Because California real estate, especially LA County, is going through the roof because there's such a shortage.
You know what's interesting? We know somebody that owns home that's renting it out to like a daycare place, but I feel like every time that you want to like raise the rent or do something, you have to like tiptoe around the tenant because they know the laws and they know that hey, I could stop paying for 6 months a year. They even will say it like, oh, I could just stop paying,
Right.
And I'll be
Right.
fine for 2-3 years. So I just laugh, and I think there's you only can go up like 5% a year for rent or something like that for increase. Maybe I'm wrong with that.
In LA?
Yeah.
In LA,
So
right?
I'm not, something like that, yeah.
So even if you want to kick someone out, it's like
Yeah.
They're trying to
it's like
impose-
a little bit of gambling.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, my insurance is going up 22%, and my property taxes is going up 15-20%. Or if they're not doing property taxes, they're doing some other hidden fees because of Prop 13. So how you expect landlords to do anything? Well, heck it, I'll just keep it vacant.
So we agreed today basically that it is a bad investment to buy in California unless it's extremely distressed.
Well, no. If you're listen, if you buy something in California,
You just can't rent it.
they're not building. I mean, you can take a risk in renting it, but look at the prices that are going up in California. If you don't build anything, and meanwhile you got people coming in, millions of people have come into California the last 4 years, right? And they're getting money from the government. Well, that's going to jam it up even more.
Where are they going then? If they can't rent these houses right now after the fire, where are they living?
Well,
these people?
Well, I know 2 people that came to Vegas,
Some
so
moved to
I
Vegas.
had.
Oh, okay. That's what I'm saying. Should we be concerned? I don't want those policies here.
So they, I had 2 listings recently. One is 1.4, one is 1.2, and I said, hey, you might want to try and rent it out too if you want. And they go, yeah, we don't want to rent it out. We really want to sell it. But both of them said, if you can rent it for $8,000, go ahead. So we put it for rent and sale. Now, 3 or 4 months ago, the comps for these rentals were $4,000, right? Maybe $4,500. And they were just being crazy because if I could rent it for that, then I'll change my mind, right? Well, that's how a free market works, right? That's how you create inventory. So one of them in Southern Highlands, in Royal Highlands, it rented for $8,000. An America West home rented for $8,000. Why? Because they couldn't find that. That's what they wanted. They wanted something luxury to rent while they're taking to California. They did a rental for 2 years, and $8,000 a month. How can you go wrong? So that's how the free market works. So that guy, that person, that owner changed his mind from selling to renting. Now that's the free market working, because guess what? Oh yeah, you know what? If you're going to compensate me that much money, then I'm going to change my mind, and I'm going to help you so you have a place to live, and now you can live there. Because if paying, the market rate is better than not having a place to go or whatever. And the same thing happened in Summerlin, 1.2. The guy rented it for $7,000, and we had multiple offers for renting. That's crazy. So why would you not take it up off of there? And if California would do that and allow the people to charge what they want, guess what? You would have the rents actually go down because you would have more inventory, and then people would and make it easier for people to get people out. So then, you know what? Your credit's not that good. That's okay. If I can get you out easy, I'll take a risk. But if you can't, and where have we seen that happen where they got rid of rent control? And what happened? Inventory went up and rents went down. Buenos Aires, Argentina. All you got to do is look it up. For years, they had rent control like New York and LA. As soon as that new president came in, he got rid of rent control in Buenos Aires, and the rents dropped like, I think, 45 or 60%. The inventory went way up because people were allowed to do what they wanted to, and let the free market work. Anytime you get this crazy intervention, you get crazy results.
I was going to say that's what happened during COVID. Like in Vegas, I remember they had all these restrictions on evictions during COVID, right? The moratorium. And because of it, there was less inventory because the landlords were worried about renting them out because someone is going to come in and not leave and not pay during COVID. So the rents actually went up because of it. So a similar thing happened.
Yes. And if you're an apartment builder or developer, and am I going to build an apartment in Vegas if I think rent control is coming? No. When you guys settle that, then if you notice, there's not that many apartments being built right now. There was in the past, but there's not that many apartment buildings being built right now in Vegas. And people say, oh, because the high rates. Well, even with the high rates, there's other parts of the country where they're still building apartment complexes because they can still make a profit, right? And they're not worried about what they can charge on rent. But when you start putting that out there where you might do rent control, kills it.
So basically, I looked it up earlier today. I think the average median home is like 485 right now in Vegas. I guess the question really comes down to is that with the interest rates basically being higher, and supposedly with Trump basically trying to basically, I guess, change the market by lowering the interest rates with doing this tariffs in the stock market.
Because of the tariff, once it went into effect, right? Obviously, it's paused now, but it dropped to around 5-something%.
The
interest.
Yes.
And that's why we have more buyers coming out right now.
So my question was going to be that it seems like people just really couldn't afford the homes at 485 with the high interest rate. What do you feel is a good investment, whether it's first-time home buyer or for investors in Vegas? Do we still think Vegas is good? Because these days, sometimes I tell people, hey, you may need for an investment, you may need to go to another state where you can go buy a property for $100,000.
I don't think people weren't buying because of they couldn't afford it, okay? Because at interest at 7 and 8%, that was still very affordable. But remember, we had the election coming up, so everybody was on pause.
To see what was going on.
Yeah, all my buyers are like, oh, we don't know what's going to happen. I go, look, I don't care what president comes into office, okay? He's not going to set the interest rate. I understand what you're doing, but look, if you wait until the interest rates drop, and it's never dropping to 2 or 3%. I told that to everyone last year, all the buyers last year. It's not going to happen, okay? That was just a fluke. But by now, okay, the prices are still affordable. If you wait until after the election, prices are going to continue to go up. So would you want to save only $100 or $200 per month on mortgage, but pay $40,000 or $50,000 more in purchase price, right? So I was able to convince some of my buyers at that time last year to buy. Now they have equity in their house.
That's a good perspective.
Yeah.
About 50 grand and 100, 200 bucks more a month
Absolutely.
for the mortgage.
And
they
refi.
can
I-
always refinance, I was
I
gonna
said,
say,
look,
yeah.
if the interest does drop to where you like whatever 2, 3, 4, 5%, great. Refi then. Save more money.
Kimberly, the buyers that you have basically recently, how do you feel that do they want to buy or they're waiting still?
I've had some buyers kind of waiting still to see if the interest rate's going to go down a little bit more. You know, they're waiting to see what's Trump going to do
Oh my
with interest
God.
rate.
It's retarded. Tell them what I just told my other buyers,
It's
okay?
very good.
Well,
It's
the
a good
truth is, I think for a
perspective.
lot, it's a good perspective. I think the whole purpose, people say that it's not affordable anymore. I recently did some billboards in the community basically saying that they're trying to stop people from renting, and they're saying at $400,000 in the interest rates that the person cannot afford to, to buy, that it's still cheaper to rent.
No.
But what happened is when the
Well,
interest rate goes down by at least 1%, you have these millions of people in America that are waiting. They're like sitting on the sidelines watching the market. They're all going to flood the market at the same time. Kind of like what happened during COVID where the rates went down and all these buyers came in, and now there's more competition between buyers and the multiple offers and all that.
That's not going to happen because we still have limited supply here. What are we? 3 months supply right now?
Yeah,
Two,
the-
2.5
the supply,
or 3
but
only still.
And so our home's still affordable. Depends who you're talking with, right? So for most of people that live in Las Vegas, it's not affordable. But those aren't most of the buyers. Most of the buyers are from California. And now with these crazy policies in California, you're going to have even if an investor thinks they're overpaying in Vegas, they'll still overpay in Vegas just to get out of California, because what's going on in California with all these new rental tenant laws and all that, they'll overpay for a house in Vegas. That's what we're seeing, right? That the landlords will pay. The investors will pay more for houses in Vegas, especially under 500 or 600, just to get out of California, because paying an extra 30 grand here is okay because they're going to save 60 or 70,000 on taxes there, right? Not to mention they can rent their property here. That's why we shouldn't be messing around with any of these laws. Everything's worked fine. And these politicians are complaining that there's not affordable housing. Well, hey, why don't you make laws against the hedge funds not to buy houses, you clowns? Don't punish the mom and pops with your rental control policies that have never worked anywhere in the entire world. We can look at Argentina, we can look at LA, we can look at Seattle, we can look at New York. Rent control doesn't work. You know what does work? Limiting these hedge funds from overpaying for properties, buying these houses, and then controlling the rent. Why don't you make these hedge funds dilute what they have right now in Las Vegas and put them on notice, because they should never have been buying houses in the first place. And you could go back and look, wait a minute, was that really a fair trade policy that they were doing when they were overpaying for houses at that time? Now, if China did that, we would block it, right? That's an unfair trade policy. Unfair when you're overpaying for something and then you have enough where you can control the rents, right? And a lot of these hedge funds also own these apartment complexes, so they can control the rent. There is no good reason for any hedge funds to be, Wall Street hedge funds, to be buying properties in any of these markets. Affordable housing, we have a crisis right now in most of these areas because you have these Wall Street landlords that went in and wiped everybody out. Look at North Las Vegas. I think North Las Vegas, 25% of the houses are owned by hedge funds or investors. Now, that's all the houses. Now, why don't you break it down? How many of those homes under 500? No wonder why people can't afford houses out there. And now we're seeing the FTC went after some of these hedge funds for what? Unfair trade practices, right? And deceptive marketing. I mean, if China comes in here and dumps a bunch of tires on the market and lowers the cost of tires unfairly but takes a loss and puts all the American companies out of business, they stop it, right? Well, you're doing the same thing. You're putting first-time home buyers out of business by letting them come in with the free money that they're getting from all over the world, overpaying for houses, and then renting it to those people for more than what their mortgage could have been a few years ago. And you wonder why there's no affordable housing? No. Not because of rent control. It's not because of mom and pops. It's because these corporate landlords treat everybody like a number. And guess what? You remember this. All you guys remember this. How many times do the mom and pop raise the rent $100 or $200?
Not often.
Not often.
Yeah. Once every 10 years.
Yeah, they're like, you know what? If they're happy in there, go ahead and stay there. There's people paying $1,200 a month right now because the mom and pop landlords are like, nah, they're good, I'm cool. And they don't want to kick somebody out for $100 because if that's vacant for 30 days, that wipes out their increase. Where when you have, thousands and thousands of homes, when you jack all of them up $100 and kick somebody out, guess what? That you nickel and dime people, you make a lot of money. You make millions. That's not my opinion. The FTC just proved it. When you do all these junk fees, we're not going to fix this, we're not going to fix that. That saves them millions of dollars. Where the mom and pops, most of them, there's exceptions, but the rule, most mom and pops don't raise the rents, and they really don't gouge people out. And when they do raise the rents, many times the people say, yeah, I can't afford it, I'm going to have to move out. The mom and pops say, you know what, go ahead and stay, you've been good.
Yeah.
Right? That happens 99% of the time. All the time. And you're complaining and saying that, investors are bad. No, the investors that you allowed to come in, and why aren't you putting bills through our house right now in Nevada that stops this and makes them liquidate like they're going on in D.C. right now? You cannot tell me a good reason why Wall Street bought these homes. You can't give me a good reason. What value does that bring? Just pain.
What's happening in D.C.?
They put there's bills that have bills have gone through the House that they're not going anywhere because of the lobbyists to make the hedge funds dilute their properties 10% a year and sell them back to the public where it belongs.
Okay, that's good.
And that right there alone, that has more impact on affordable houses than interest rates, insurance, California Exodus, anything. Thousands of homes.
It's going to be federal, right?
No, you can do state too. They can do state policies too. And you know what? Put a 25% tax on them.
Yeah.
You know what? Put a 25% tax on them. And you want to do rent control? Do rent control only on hedge funds. Well, how do we regulate the hedge funds? Hey, don't worry. You got 16,000 investigators called realtors out there that will let you know if these hedge funds are doing something that you passed a law against. Because every realtor, most realtors their business has been hurt by these corporate landlords, and their clients have been hurt by corporate landlords because now their clients are renting. And they've been renting for 5 or 6 years, 10 years.
Do you believe the hedge funds are still here actively trying to buy?
Sure.
Or they
Yes, 100%.
as active as before over the last few years, or still?
So when people say, hedge funds aren't buying as much, well, that's because the inventory under 500 is lower. Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
go back, go watch my videos in 2019 and 2014 warning you, hey, you better stop this right now. There was a period where hedge funds were buying 1,000 homes a month for 18 months. That's 18,000 homes. And people say, it's a small percentage. No, it's not a small percentage. It's a huge percentage because everything they bought was under 500.
But here's the thing, the rental index is still pretty high too. I mean, they're not giving these renters or tenants a deal, correct?
No, the mom and pops are the ones that cut the deals.
Yeah.
The hedge funds,
They're not.
If they got 10 properties, you know what? We'll charge a good strategy that works is, you know what? We'll keep these 4 vacant and we'll charge more on these 6. They can create a shortage. There's whole communities now that are owned by hedge funds. I mean, who I would love for someone to say, well, this is how this helps society. This is how it helps affordable homes. This is how it helps first-time homebuyers. Because now it's snowballing because now it's been so long, 5 years that the move-up buyers don't exist, right? Because when you buy a home after 5 years, you got equity, you can move up. Nothing to move up because you've been renting the whole time. So guess who made that 100, 200 grand? Wall Street. More importantly, what does it do for the community? It takes the money out because the mom and pops, what do? They spend money within the community. They buy stuff within the community. They use people within the community. Most of these Wall Street companies, they come in, they bring their own people, and guess what? That money gets shipped out to Wall Street.
But that's why, going back to your question on the rental, I always advise people, if you can qualify to buy, please buy, because in the long run, you're paying more for rent. If you pay $2,000 a month, right, times 12, what is that? Almost $30,000 per year that you're paying somebody else's mortgage, basically. So if you can qualify, please buy now.
I think it's interesting. I saw one realtor basically was driving around, and this new signs that say brand new homes, rent today. That the marketing has changed now because the hedge funds basically want people to rent. They don't want them to own. So the marketing has changed to basically kind of lure people in that it's better to rent.
And these new builds are going straight to rental. Like, they're not even going through sales. They're just...
Well, yeah, because they bought the land, and the new home builders are like, listen, we can't buy that land for what they can pay for because we're going to sell it to first-time home buyers. But these guys will pay more for it because they're going to use it for rental purposes. So they can pay more for that land because they know they can basically charge what they want for rent, especially right now. Like you said, there's a shortage of land in Vegas.
Inventory.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a question. So it seems right now, you can, all of you can kind of chime in. It seems that rentals are slow, that rental locations are staying on the market longer. It's harder to find renters, and also listings are staying on the market longer, that it's harder to actually sell. What are your thoughts about rentals and the listings?
Well, for me,
The last few weeks, it seems.
well, the listings have been on the market a little bit longer. Obviously, I think it's a byproduct of what's been happening anyways, right? Everyone waiting for a while. So I have listings that I listed before the election. So naturally, that stayed on. Now, sellers don't want to really reduce because of the low supply, we see what the comps are. We see what the value is, right? And even when you talk to a seller, you say, look, these are the comps. You know, you should probably go $20,000, $30,000 less than what you want to list for. But they go, well, we don't have any competition. So, you know, we want to list it a little bit higher. And I'll say, well, sure, that's okay. We can do that. If you are okay with it sitting on the market for just a little bit longer, then that's fine. One day you'll get a buyer that will pay whatever it is that you want, right? Because real market value is what buyers want to pay. I go, but if you need to sell it, then you have to price it competitively, you know? But for the most part, because of the supply, I think that's why the prices are remaining higher.
Wait,
That's
and then
my
also
opinion.
a lot of sellers, they're like, listen, I'll sell my house for this much, because if I don't get this much, it's not worth me selling, because
Right.
where I'm going to go is too expensive.
True.
We might see that. We might see sellers start reducing their prices where they're going. Like if I'm going to Florida, if I'm going to Texas, or if I'm going to Arizona, if I'm going to Nashville. Oh, you know what? 2 months ago, that house that I wanted was $600. Now it's $400. Oh yeah, I'll drop mine $50,000. You know what? Because I'm still ahead $150,000. So you might start seeing that. Don't forget, in March, people forget, this is like the Great Reset Part 2. Because if the Biden administration would have continued on Jerome Powell's plan in March of 2022, they probably would have won the re-election. Because the number one reason why Trump won was because of inflation. All the polls say inflation, inflation. Well, Jerome Powell was bringing down inflation in March 2022. If you remember, every flipper remembers, from March of 2022 till about November of 2022, you can go watch the videos, house prices in Las Vegas fell, depending on which area, they fell 10 to 20%, depending on what area, right? And then in November, the administration panicked and they started putting in, doing the forbearances forever, which means all those forbearances that they were going to put on the market, the inventory, they said, hey, you know what, we're going to let you do the forbearances for longer now. So the inventory, basically in 1 month, like 3,000 or 4,000 houses went off the market, right? Because they went into forbearances. So that created the shortage, right? Artificial or not. And as soon as that happened, what happened? Prices started going back up. And then now we're starting to learn that a lot of the immigrants that came in were getting $2,500 a month, and some of them were getting Social Security numbers.
$5,000 a month.
Yeah, well, the one in Austin was giving out $2,500 per person. So if 2 people lived in a house, $5,000. But there's 4, yeah. So also in 2023. Did that also bring up rents? Did that also bring up house prices? Because all the millions of people were getting $2,500 per person, maybe $5,000, whatever. We know at least $2,500, but some instances, who knows, right? But they were getting money, right, per month. Well, that had a huge impact on house prices and rent. So we don't know. And like in Austin, it had a huge impact, right? Because, you know, just 60 days ago, they started cutting that money off, or 30 days ago, and we're seeing the rents and all that stuff in Austin drop a lot. We don't know how the impact is going to happen in Vegas, but we'll know soon enough. And if you remember, Jerome Powell said that one of the reasons why we have this high inflation is because of all the immigration. Like, wait a minute, immigration usually brings down inflation because people are coming in here, you got to have more workforce. And, well, what he didn't know, what he didn't tell us, which he knew, is, well, yeah, if immigration is coming in and you're giving them $2,500 a month for living expenses, well, yeah, that's going to cause inflation. You didn't tell us that part, Jerome. And he was trying to push back on that stuff. He wasn't, coming out blatantly, but now we know as we look back, Jerome Powell was like, listen, we got to cut this inflation. This is how we do it. But they were worried. They wanted the economy to look strong and robust, when now we realize, oh, wait a minute, this was all fake. And you've heard me. I've been talking about at our events at LVR for the Exodus, the Crystal Ball. These numbers aren't real. The inflation numbers aren't right. The job numbers aren't right. These aren't right. And now we're realizing, oh, a lot of these numbers are fake. What are the real numbers? And now people are starting to look and go, oh, wait a minute, what's real? Nobody knows the real numbers anymore. And now the Band-Aid's starting to be ripped apart. And you know what? People are, these talking heads on TV, oh, we're going into a recession. Sorry to burst your bubble, but 90% of the population has been in a recession for the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. And all this nonsense, the stock market's crashing. Once again, nobody cares. 10% of the 90% of the stocks are owned by 10% of the population. So guess what? 90% of the people have been left behind the last 5 years, 10 years if you want to go back further, because they can't afford houses. And I've been saying, if you don't own assets in this time period, it's been very, very, very tough for you. Well, those are the people that are like, I don't care if the stock market crashes. And a majority of the people want the housing market to crash or come down 20% too, so they can afford it. And even, this is a rare time in history, even people that are living in their houses right now, many of them, they want their house prices to come down too, because it went up too quickly, and now their insurance is too high, their taxes is too high. In many states, their taxes is killing them. The property taxes are killing them. So yeah, my house I bought for $300, now it's $700. But guess what? My property taxes have tripled. My insurance has doubled or tripled. So yeah, I got $400,000 equity, but I got no disposable income because I got to pay for all this now. So if I'm not selling my house in the next 2 or 3 years, I don't benefit from my house going up $400,000, right? Now I benefit my house going up $400,000 over 6, 10, 15 years, because guess what? As my house slowly goes up and my income goes up, my property taxes, my insurance slowly goes up to keep up with that. So that's why many people that are in their houses right now actually are welcoming their property value to come down, because they're not selling it. And when they do sell it, if they have all these high fees, that's basically stripping their equity.
I got a good question to ask you guys, because all of you guys have different listings. I was just thinking at this table here, you probably all together to go through listings, that you have a lot of listings in general. Does it make you nervous to have a lot of listings? I feel like everyone wants $50,000 or $75,000 more for their home right now. Like, how many listings do you have right now in the market?
No, so most people want more than it's worth because where they're going, they're afraid by the time they sell their house, the expenses on their new house is going to be more than they expected, because that's happened to them every single year for the last 4 years. Hey, what I was just talking about right now, don't forget, your power bill's more, your water bill's more, your gas bill's more, your maintenance, if something goes wrong with your house, guess what? That's more. So the maintenance to maintain a house has skyrocketed it too. I mean, hopefully your house isn't 15 or 20 years old and you need a new AC unit. I remember those things were $5,000 or $6,000. Now they're like $15,000, right? So, and in Vegas, for example, the older the house, it used to be the older house, they were less, right? But now, yeah, the house might be less. But when you factor in the extra insurance, because insurance companies are charging more for older houses now, and the maintenance of that house, you might as well just go buy a new one at a 3.9 interest rate for 2 years, then 4.9 fixed for 30 years. Yeah, that new house is $100,000 more, but over 10, 15, 20, even 30 years, it's a lot less because the interest is low and the maintenance on that house is going to be less on the new house than it is on a resale.
I mean, that's a fair, reason, right? Everyone has different reasons of selling. My sellers, not necessarily moving anywhere else, or upgrading or anything like that. I think they just want to probably cash out right now because the market is decent. And we're pricing it based on, supply and demand. That's what my clients are doing. And I think as a real estate professional, it's your duty to give your clients the right numbers, right? And to educate them on what the market is and what the real value of it is, depending on if they want to sell it quickly or not as a seller.
I was saying, how do you feel with the people that are trying to sell?
And if I feel like they're still hesitant and they feel like the house is worth another $50,000-$60,000 more, I also recommend getting an appraisal, so that way they have a second licensed person.
But the problem with appraisals is this: if you have two different appraisers, that may be two different values.
That's
okay.
True.
So I don't advise my sellers to get an appraisal before listing. I really don't, because the buyer's going to have to do that anyways.
We'll give the example of the story of someone that that wanted, was it $100,000 more? Like, see what their take is on that.
Yeah, so we had a potential buyer that, a seller that wanted to price their home, and I had a number in my mind based on the comps. And when I go in, I was surprised because it was about 100,000 more than what I thought, it's actually valued at. And
They wanted $100,000 more listed?
Listed,
okay,
yes.
then the number in your head.
Yeah.
Okay, based
the
on the
number
comps.
that I thought was the based on.
Yeah.
A few days passed by. They weren't fully ready to list, but we talked about it. We knew we were going to list it.
Mm-hmm.
Another home in their community came on the market, exact price that I had in mind. And same floor plan.
Okay.
And they actually called me and they said, look, Camelia, with full transparency,
Mm-hmm.
there is a home, same model, which hasn't been sold since 5-6 years,
Mm-hmm.
is on the market for this price now, as of yesterday. And that's when I said, look, if you still feel like your house is worth that X amount, let's have an appraiser come out and see what they think as well.
Did they do that?
Yes.
Okay,
they're
and did
doing
they
it.
come down to reason?
They're
Were they
gonna-
reasonable after that?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Well, fine.
Steve, do you
use it for that.
disagree or agree with getting
What are your
homes
thoughts?
appraised?
What?
When people want they want to list their home, it's a lot more money than it
$100,000
is.
more than what the value actually
Do you
is.
ever suggest getting
So
appraisal
I know
prior,
realtors
or
that have appraisers in their pocket to say, "Hey, go appraise this house, and this is what I want to come in at," and then it gives them.
No.
Oh, no, I gave them an option. No, I said, look,
No, that's what
anyone
agents
you
do. So when
Not that much.
if you're a homeowner
No.
and someone says get an appraisal, you gotta be careful. Are they that person's buddy? Because like you said, the appraisals, it's just an opinion of value. So. My opinion is better than most appraisers, and your opinion is better than most appraisers, because most appraisers are just like realtors. They're part-time, right? And they don't know the area. They don't know what's going on. So when all they're doing is they're pulling the same data we are, right? And they're just giving their opinion. Well, their opinion may or may not be the same as us. And I can give you many examples where a house didn't close and we got another appraisal, and that appraisal with the same comps came in $50,000 to $100,000 difference. On $1 million house, we had one to come in different, a $400,000 difference.
Oh, my God.
In 30 days, 2 different appraisals. And they use the same comps. Because it's all subjective, especially now with the low amount of inventory, it's all subjective. They say, "Oh, we're going to give that one $50,000. We're going to give that one $20,000." Well, these appraisers, it's just an opinion of value. It's a worthless piece of paper, and we now know it's a worthless piece of paper because a lot of these banks aren't even doing appraisals anymore, right? They're just saying they're waiving the appraisal
What?
because
What
a lot.
banks? No.
Yes.
I haven't had a
A lot.
transaction
If you-
yet
if you
where a
put
bank...
I've had
Yeah,
once.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you put 20% down, a lot of the banks are
for
waiving them.
conventional?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well,
interesting.
no, it was
Yeah.
below 20%.
Well, so,
Or
yeah, no.
yes.
FHA will never...
On 20%, a lot of times they put 20% down, they'll waive it. Sometimes if they don't put down 20%, they won't waive it. But a lot of times with 20%, it's like waive now. Because look,
Interesting.
the banks are like, listen, we got the same data these appraisers are using. They're not, and with AI, we got the pictures. So I don't think appraisers exist in 3 to 5 years as they do today because AI is going to be much better because AI is going to be able to take the pictures of all the comps, number one. Number two, they're going to be able to tell why those people sold also. Because AI is going to be able to pull up that seller's information and then they're going to cross-check it. Oh, they pulled their credit over here. They're buying a house, so these guys moved. Oh, you know what? Public record said this seller got divorced, so they're going to discount it because the AI is going to know that this house was sold because of a divorce. It's public record. So as humans, we could do all that too. We just don't have enough time in the day. I can't go find out why those people sold, but AI can find out in 2 seconds, right? They can pull all the public records. It's easy to find out.
Dangerous.
Yeah, well, it's already
Yeah,
happening,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like the AI can find out why is that person selling the house. Well, they just have a baby. Did they just get married? Did someone just pass away? Are they getting a divorce? They had their credit pulled in North Carolina. Oh, they must have got a job transfer,
All
right?
the things that we're not allowed to
tell.
disclose.
No,
Exactly.
Not the AI,
yeah,
you know
AI
what I
can do
mean,
it.
as a
No, we
realtor.
could actually. We can, as
Research.
buyers agents, we could go and find out.
We can research
But
it.
we could
and
research
let
that.
them
We're not
know.
allowed to.
Right.
Yeah, we
give
could
that
research that,
information.
Yeah.
but it would take forever on every single house. But AI can do it in 10 seconds, not even 10 seconds, 10 milliseconds.
Interesting.
question for
Dangerous stuff.
question for each one of you guys? We'll basically start with Camelia. If you had to go back in time and give yourself your own advice on real estate, what would it be? So if you had to go back when you were 18 years of age and you wanted to tap yourself on the shoulder and basically say, "Hey, I want to give myself advice for the future," what would it be?
So when I don't know about 18, but a few years later when I worked a little bit and I had some I guess school loans, I wish instead of paying off my school loans, I would have put extra money towards buying more homes back then, because that would have appreciated a lot more, and I could have paid off the school loan and still have a lot of assets to stay. So
That's a good
I see.
perspective.
Yes.
John T.
Me. If I can go back
18 was just a few years ago.
yeah, just a couple years ago, and tell myself what to do now, okay? I would say
Stay away from dogs and
run
lawyers.
really fast from boyfriends number 3 and 4. Far away, quickly. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, I'm not kidding on that. But anyways,
We'll disclose 3 and 4
3
later,
and 4
after
later,
the show.
different
Different
episode. Anyway, so I don't know. I don't think I would change too much of what I've done because I have been protected. The universe and God has been very, very good to me. And I would, though, have told my younger self when I first moved to Vegas to spend less money on going out and, you know, fancy cars and, you know, clothing and buy more land here. Definitely. I
Okay,
would have
buy
told
more land.
myself that, yes.
I know you
Way
like
more.
land.
Yes. I'm a
And
land
Steve,
girl.
with the Hawk Extreme package, what would you do?
Buy more $200,000 homes in California,
200,000 homes in California,
not Las Vegas, California.
which are probably worth $2 million.
Yeah, because who knew? Who would have known that they would have, you know, basically stopped all building and let some, you know, unelected bureaucrats destroy building and
Yeah, but you
building
would
house
have
out there.
you would have stuck with all this hoo-ha happening now too, though. If you had more assets there.
No, I
you
would.
know?
I would still live in. I would still came to Vegas like every other smart Californian, right? That can. But the houses, people got to realize when you buy a house in California, in my opinion, you're not really buying a house. You're buying a stock, right? So you're just it's just gonna go up because what you're counting on, and you know, a lot of people that buy stocks. They hold on it, right? They time, right? So a lot of people that, and you don't have to, unless it's paying a dividend, you don't have to worry. If it's a growth stock, like a tech stock, you don't have to worry about the dividends. You're not paying taxes on it, right? So if you buy a house in California, you don't rent it out, you don't have to pay taxes on it, and you got those crazy policies that, you're paying property taxes, but you got those crazy policies that are making that growth stock, aka a house in California, go up. I mean,
So even if you weren't renting, it's still going up. So it's like
Yeah,
a
it's still
stock.
going up.
You're
You're
just
still making-
sitting and holding on it.
Yeah, you're still,
Okay.
it's just like a stock. Yeah, people are going, why wouldn't you rent the house in California? Well, because of this. Oh, then why don't you sell it? Well, because of this, right?
Okay. All right. So if you had
But
to
you could have been a leftist if you had.
so,
you would have been extreme on the other side.
Yeah, that
we
would-
wouldn't have you here today.
Yeah.
You see.
so we'll go back around with Steve again. Another question. If you have $1 million cash today, what would you do with $1 million cash? It could be different. It could be real estate. It could be buying Tesla stock. It could be buying Bitcoin, XRP. What in regards? The question really comes down to is what would you really invest today? I give you $1 million cash.
Yeah.
What would you do with $1 million cash, Steve?
If you had $1 million and other assets, then I would do some stock right now, right? Or crypto. But if all you had was $1 million, then real estate.
Real estate.
And
Real
then
estate.
Are you saying leverage it, buy one property? What would you do
Yeah,
with $1
yeah,
million? Leverage with bank loans.
get a house to live in, so you have a house to live.
Okay.
And then after that, then you can buy rentals, leverage it, and then buy stocks and all that. But you just definitely want to diversify. Look, nobody becomes super rich owning real estate, okay? Very few people. A lot of people become super rich getting into the stock market and buying certain stocks and buying crypto, right? And they say everyone that the most millionaires are from real estate. Yeah, but they can't tap into it. They live in that house. Right? So you take away how people became super wealthy. It's, they've been picking stocks in the last 10 years, crypto and stuff, because they have their house they live in. Yeah, they might be a millionaire because their house went up, but they can't tap that money. They can tap it out and invest in it. But yeah, you're worth $1 million net because of the house you live in, but that's not really a true asset because you can't really
use the money.
maneuver that money, right? But on rentals and then stocks, I mean, look, you can't make, if people that bought Microsoft or Nvidia or just sit on that stock from 20 years ago, that went up more than houses in California. There's no house that went up more than decent stocks in the 2005, right? But there's other leverage too. You want to get the house first to live in, right? But after that, then you want to make sure stocks and don't go in and out, right? If you're going to go in and out on stocks, have your money in these stocks that just sit there we don't play around with. Like today, the market went up like 8%. Well, a lot of people were selling because they're all worried. You just got creamed.
How
The
about the
smart
people
people
that
are buying.
lost last week, though? Like hundreds of thousands of dollars. What happened with that?
If they
they're
sold,
even in the game.
If they sold,
Yeah.
If they're
If they
smart
sold.
enough, they'll keep it.
If they sold, yeah.
Do we have stats on that? Do we have stats on the most millionaires? What you just said, real estate or stocks or whatever. Do we have actual stats on that?
Yeah, so there's more
I need to
millionaires
look
that
that
were
up.
generated by real estate, but they're counting the houses they live in. Okay, so yeah, so people in
Talking about
California,
assets, right?
yeah, so people in California, they bought a house in 1995, and now their house is worth $1.5 million, and so they're worth their net is $1 million. Well, yes, they're a millionaire, but not really, because that's the house they live in. Now, in my opinion, if you made $1 million from that house, and and you're a millionaire, then you need to have $1 million not liquid, but in stocks or a rental house. Like if you live in a house and then you have 3 rentals, and those 3 rentals are worth $1 million, then yeah, that's like a millionaire, right? But if you live in a house and that's what they're counting, which they are, then that's kind of like yes and no, right? So,
Stocks and crypto is very volatile, though, right? I mean, don't you need to have a lot of money to be able to stay in the game, though? If you're going to make a lot of money,
no,
you know what I mean?
No, time.
Really?
People that bought stock in the 1990s, 2000s, 2010s, 2019. They made a lot of money. I mean, go look at the price. Go look at what Microsoft stock was in 2005. People go, oh, that was so long ago. Yeah, but if you're 25 right now, buy some stock, and guess what? Let it sit there, and then when you're 45, it's going to be worth a lot. How do we know this? Because it's the money supply, right? As they increase the money supply, the stocks automatically go up. Warren Buffett, the main reason why he's not that, everyone thinks he's a genius in the stock market. No, the guy's been in it for a long time, right? So he played that. But number 2, he made real big money in 2008. Well, when everybody was, he's like, oh, when there's blood in the water, or whatever his thing is, when there's blood in the water, that's when you buy. Well, in 2008, he did all this crazy investing in Goldman Sachs and Bank of America and all that when everybody was running. Well, nobody in their right mind would have been buying Goldman Sachs and Bank of America stock because it was plummeting and all their assets were dropping. Well, yeah, Warren, tell us that they're about to get a bailout in 3 days, and I'll go buy their stock too. So all these guys are like, oh, look, we bought it when it was Goldman Sachs was like this. Well, yeah, you guys knew they're getting bailed out.
They knew
Because, yeah, you do, of course. Because if you wouldn't have interfered and bailed them out instead of bailing out the middle class and Main Street America, no, you knew that they were going to get bailed out, so you gave them crazy amount of money, about crazy amount of stocks, and some of those stocks went from, like Citibank was at like $1 or $2. Bank of America was at $2 or $3 or something. Goldman Sachs, I mean, they made like 10, 20, 30 times on their money. But that's not because they were risky and all that. They were, hey, Henry Paulson, what are you doing? We're going to bail these guys out. Thanks, boom. Come on, man.
That's inside information.
Yeah, and they made a lot. It's common knowledge. I mean, that's how they made big money. Well, you're not some great stock picker. You were told that they were going to get bailed out. That's why the common person wasn't doing it, because everybody in real estate was like Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, Citibank. Those guys are toast because we see those bad loans. We see those bad loans you bought. We see those bad business decisions you made. You're going down. Never mind. We're going to save them. Well, why didn't you tell us so we could have known about that, right?
Right. No, of course
I mean,
not.
basically, a lot of these people, even the government, based politicians, are getting information, and they're making tons of money in general.
Yeah,
That's the only
real quick.
reason I would get into politics, honestly.
So
just to have
there's
that knowledge.
There's 2 documentaries that everybody should watch. It's called Hank. It's about Henry Paulson during all that. So everything I'm saying you can see right there, by his own admission. Henry Paulson. It's called Hank. It's a documentary, and everyone should right now be watching. It was one of the most popular documentaries on Netflix for 2 or 3 years. It's called Death by China. Okay, and it has Martin Sheen, who's far left, and Peter Navarro, who's kind of far right, whatever. Not even they're left and right. So you have 2 bipartisan, and they're just doing the facts, and they interview companies that didn't want to go to China, that were forced to go to China, because if they didn't, they would have been put out of business because China was paying their competitors. So you bring your company over to China, and guess what? We're going to guarantee you 20%. How are you going to do that? We're going to pay you. So you can charge whatever you want. Well, you want to stay in North Carolina, and I don't want to leave. I got everything here. My people are here, my employees. Okay, no problem. Stay. Well, guess what? She's going to undercut you, and China's going to cut her a check, so you go out of business. So now you're forced to go to China. These are the kind of trade practices that they're doing, and they're interviewing the business owners. They're interviewing the people that are impacted. So if you're going to make all these comments on tariffs and all that stuff, at least watch Death by China so you know what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
All these people talking about tariffs. Hey, don't listen to anybody. The information's right there. It's a documentary, Death by China, and you are talking to the people that were ground floor, that were moving their companies out of the United States of America, not because they wanted to,
By
because
force.
they had to.
China
And
was a better negotiator.
No, China was paying them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They negotiated better. So now that's why we needed a president that can negotiate the same way.
Well, not only that,
Yeah.
why are you allowing that? That's illegal.
Yeah.
Why are you allowing that?
Yep.
And why didn't our our congressmen and senators, when you go back and look, they're saying, yeah, we can't allow this happen, can't let this happen. But guess what? They got paid too.
Absolutely.
So they allowed it to happen.
And guess who's paying the price? Go look at Middle America.
Yeah.
Look at even California. Look at all the manufacturing jobs that we lost. I mean, there used to be a lot of manufacturing in Pico Rivera. There was a Ford plant, I remember, in Pico Rivera. In the 50s and 60s, California was like or Los Angeles was almost like the Detroit of the West Coast. You can Google it. And I remember driving down the 5 freeway. There used to be this big tire place. I think it was Firestone. Huge plant in the 50s and 60s, mainly in the 50s. And it was like the Detroit of the West Coast. And then what happened in the 70s? Japan. So what China's doing right now, Japan was the first to do it. And China's like, oh, you know what? We're going to do what Japan does, but we're going to do it on steroids. Because we know how corrupt these politicians are.
Absolutely.
We'll pay them.
Yep.
Chanti, $1 million
Yes.
cash. What do we do with it?
I will be doing exactly what I have been doing, buying more properties and flipping. That's what I
Land
do.
or houses or what?
All of it. Yeah.
Be more, more detailed.
I already have my primaries,
Okay.
already. So
No more detail. You
this will be
buying
extra money.
400,000, two $400,000 homes?
Depends on what's in the market and what kind of deals I can find. Anywhere between $100,000, which there's none right now, but all the way up to $1 million.
So you would like cheaper stuff.
Of course.
So you would look for cheaper
more-
stuff, distressed stuff,
and more affordable
any type
stuff.
of investment, affordable stuff to
Yeah.
buy long term.
Absolutely. If I
rent it
can
out.
invest in 3 or 4 properties for $1 million, then I would,
Okay.
But if I can only find one property at $1 million, but I can make, $500,000.
So you're looking for a good deal, and then you would flip it.
Yes.
Flip.
Usually,
So
yes.
buy, good deal, and flip it.
Yes.
Okay, Camellia. $1 million cash. Could be anything. Real estate, stock market, Bitcoin. What do you think?
My passion is real estate, so I would buy real estate and just buy and hold, and I would leverage as many as I can to purchase.
One thing I'll share in regards to $1 million cash in this question, to me, if you invest $2 in XRP or something like that, right? You want a huge return. Like people that purchase Bitcoin at a very, very cheap, and they're millionaires from it. That you want. It's like when you go to this. When you go to the track racing horses, right? You want to basically get that long shot. You want to make that money. When you buy Tesla stock, right? Let's say it's $200 and it was $400, right? You need a lot of money to make millions and millions of dollars. But who knows? I mean, some people say Tesla stock could be worth $2,000 in the future, right? If it's the robots and everything else. The problem is, right, long term, 20 years. I'm 48 now. I'm 68. I'm 70 years old. Do I have 20 years to kind of wait it out to basically, hope for a lot of money in the long run?
It's for your retirement, though.
True. But the thing with it is that, you really want to enjoy your life. You want to make that quicker money, right? That's one of the problems. So XRP, that's $2, maybe that's worth, $200, right, in a few years from now. The problem is you don't know, and it's very easy to lose money in the stock market. And that's why these politicians basically, right, these new programs are out there saying, let's see what Pelosi is buying today, or what, how they're making their money. If you have that inside information, when I was younger, I had 20 grand in the stock market, and I remember years ago there was Discovery Zone, which was like a playground for kids. I purchased that. I purchased LoJack, right, with technology. It goes out of business. So you got to be so careful with purchasing things.
Yeah.
But it does seem like AI, Bitcoin is kind of where it's at. But things are changing so rapidly, it kind of makes me nervous of what to buy. I'm not, totally sure.
Yeah, the AI, that's turning out to be a big scam too, right? They said, oh, it's going to take up all this power, it's going to take up all this and
Energy.
Solar. And stuff. And wait a minute, China just came out with that DeepSeek, and wait a minute, were you guys lying to us? Because now you see all these big companies that were investing in these data centers, now they're pulling back a little bit because wait a minute, we might be able to do this AI with a lot less investment than we thought. So were they telling us the truth, or were they? Because look, nobody really knows, right? So if I can get 10 million instead of 1 million, I'm going to say, oh, it's going to cost 10 million because nobody knows. Well, China's kind of like, wait a minute, we did it for $1 million. Why are you guys charging 10 million? And you're starting to see these AI companies pull back on how much money they claim they need. So that's going to speed up AI even more with because Microsoft is canceling some of their AI data centers. Why? Well, they probably don't need as many anymore, right? So that's like you said, AI. We don't know. Well, it's a big change in the last 30 days in AI. So that's going to be
It's like every day you're waking up, there's a new AI program, AI Reels, AI Dreammaker.
Going back to Bitcoin, you said you would invest in Bitcoin. My question is, what makes me hesitant is that I don't know what I'm really owning. Like, yes, I feel like it's worth something because you're saying it's worth something, she's saying it's worth, and then if we all say it's worth something, then it is. But if we all at the same time say, hey, it's not worth anything, because you don't own the actual company, right? You don't have.
It's nothing material, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like
yeah.
if I own a stock of Chase or Bank of America, I
Right.
feel like I own part of that company.
And what
That's
about
what makes me nervous. I don't,
You know, the
all of
biggest
the
Ponzi
theft,
scheme, though,
but-
out there, the dollar. Any currency, any fiat currency, whether it's China, the EU, the European, I mean,
Because they're printing it.
they're printing it. Yeah. So, so if you have a dollar and you have a Bitcoin, same thing, right?
Yeah, but crypto or Bitcoin is just
It's
kind of
fixed.
no. I mean, like, but you don't have anything like solid, tangible, right?
That's how I
You're
feel.
just it's just by word of mouth. Oh yeah, buy that. Oh great.
I feel like that's how
It's
it
like
goes
solid.
on word of
How
mouth.
Same with
about the
gold.
hundreds of millions of Bitcoin or whatever that just disappears all of a sudden? Every week I look at some news and it's 500 million that's just disappeared.
It doesn't disappear.
Whatever.
It goes from one person to another
Well,
person.
yeah, it's
And
stolen.
yeah,
It's
stolen. Yes,
Yes,
yeah.
The
Well,
person that started that whole thing now stole all your fucking
Yeah.
money.
Oh,
So,
really?
Yes.
So
not
you can
ever investing in
say the
that.
same thing about gold. Like when you buy gold, you're not buying gold, unless it's being or silver. It's all leverage. So like when you go and you buy, call these companies and say I buy gold stock or whatever. We're holding the gold for you. No, they're holding maybe 1% or 10% of the gold that they're really saying they have. So they really don't have it. So that's one reason why gold should be like $10,000 an ounce and silver should be $200 an ounce. They're selling more gold and silver than it's really out there. They're not holding it because they know it's kind of like our savings account. They know that people aren't going to come in. I want all my gold.
Oh, we're buying. No, when I buy gold and I buy a lot of it, I have it. It's intangible assets.
What location do you have it at?
Yeah, I'll tell you later.
Would you
Anyways,
buy gold and silver?
Yeah, but we will use
and
that
take
for
possession
trading.
of it?
No,
You wouldn't.
No,
see,
but
see, that's dumb.
because
I'm not gonna buy it. Take it.
so the reason why
Store
you
it.
want you should if you're going to do it,
Yeah.
But
Bury
the
it.
problem with storing it is if the reason why you want gold or silver is because if there's something crazy happens, right?
In the world.
But
Yeah, but if it's online and stuff, I mean, where are you gonna get it when you need it, though? Is
well,
what I'm
if you
saying.
need it, if you need those coins and those silver, that's the least of your problems because that means the world's collapsed.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right?
And
But
that's
the
what I
world's
have it
collapsed.
for.
I'll take my guns and bullets, right? And
For
water
gold.
and food.
Yeah.
Because you're
I
not
have
gonna.
that too.
Everything's gonna barter. Yeah, that you have your house.
Yeah.
But like the gold coins and the silver, if
better-
that ever happens, that's the least of.
You better
The
work on
problem.
your
Issues.
you better
Yeah.
work on your gag reflex if
yeah.
that ever happens.
And listen, so the government can automatically say, hey, you know what? We're not going to use gold or silver. You can't. It's illegal to use gold or silver for monetary purposes, just like
For
they did
bartering?
with Bitcoin. Yeah, for bartering, just like they did with Bitcoin in Canada. People thought, oh, Bitcoin it gets away from the government. They can't stop you. They can't do that. That's why that was one of the pros of Bitcoin, right? You can use it to circumvent governments. Well, how'd that work out? In Canada, those truckers, right? They're getting Bitcoin. They cut them all off. People are using Bitcoin. They shut their. That's it. That's all they got to do with gold. They can do the same thing with gold. It's easier to control gold and silver than it is Bitcoin, and they cut Bitcoin off like that.
Okay, my advice: if you're gonna buy any of those tangible assets, be sure you have it in your hand. Go buy it, so you
All right.
can use it for bartering.
Well, one last thing I
trade.
want to bring up. I'm
if
going to
you're
wrap
buying
up.
if you're buying it for an emergency, then yeah. But I'm
Bought
just
it.
buying it to trade it.
Just
true.
curious,
Yeah,
one
yeah,
last thing,
you're
and then we're
that.
going to wrap up. Do you know that the banks are now stopping safe deposit boxes? I think because of what happened in California, that a lot of the banks that burned up the safe deposit boxes, whether the cash, the money, and jewelry, it was so hot in general, basically it burned. Did you hear about there's no more safe deposit boxes?
No, I don't think that's
They're getting out of the business of having that as a service.
Yeah, but and maybe in California
minimal,
purses,
though.
but yeah, but I heard they're getting rid of the safety deposits in Vegas too.
Yeah.
But it's not because of a fire.
What's the reason why?
They're not
Who
making
knows?
enough money.
What, they don't make no money on
They
it.
don't want to be liable, maybe.
Well, why do I
I
want?
thought because maybe the fire situation in California, they realized they'd just get rid
No,
of
I
it.
mean, look, why do I want a bunch of people coming into my bank that I'm making $100 a month on or $200 a month on for a safety deposit box? Go get a safe or go. Now there's places that are opening up that are safety deposit boxes, right? That you can do. But don't forget, there was that one in Henderson. Remember that one in Henderson? There was a safety deposit box place.
With your eye or something like that, your DNA?
Yeah, but they came in from the ceiling and robbed all the
Oh,
safety
did
deposit
they?
boxes. Yeah,
I
yeah.
forgot that was a story with that in Henderson. But
Yeah.
did they close down?
Yeah, that was a long time ago. I think like 10
There's
years
a new
ago.
location we actually went to the other day. It's called MySafe, and basically it is your finger, a card, and a key.
Yeah.
And basically it does seem very safe. We're actually going to take a tour later today.
Well, the other place was safe too, but when you go in there from the roof and you beat all the technology and you jam it up. But with AI and everything, it's going to be harder to break into those things today too. So it should be safer.
But if you have possessions, why would you put it somewhere else besides,
Well, the question really
close
comes
by
down to if you have
you?
assets in your home and someone wants to come
Well, yeah.
burglarize your home or rob you, and you have that stuff in your home.
Yeah, but you have
is that the
access
safe
to it
place?
very quickly, though. I mean, yeah, and put some guns and some ammos also with you at your,
So you believe that you should have it in your home?
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, you want to
If
be
you have
able
workers
to
in your
access
house,
it.
sometimes.
Well, yeah, well, that's why you
For
should have
safety.
safes and maybe, build, dig something underground, whatever, secret safes or something like that. Yeah, but you want to be able to get to it. If there's an emergency, obviously you won't need any of these things unless there's an emergency. And when there is, you think you're going to drive to that location and get it, just have it around quickly.
Interesting perspective.
Yes. I welcome y'all to come to my house.
I was actually just thinking, how long can we all
Kill
talk?
everybody.
If we did 24 hours, can we make 24 hours of talking?
Oh yeah, like your buddy
bathroom
Cory
breaks?
Booker.
Yeah. Well, actually, John
But he talks
Orlando.
about nothing and dribble. We'd actually talk about stuff where people.
I was just thinking how long we could go to talk about all these different
I'm
topics.
sure we can.
But anyway,
For a
listen,
long time.
I really appreciate all you guys' time and information. It's actually interesting to have different perspectives.
And
As
the
usual,
last check you cut us bounced. So last time we did this, you cut us all those checks. They bounced. We need
that
it.
check came from
No,
Joe,
no, no,
from
no, no,
Biden.
no, check.
From Biden.
Okay.
No more
So
crypto.
Yeah.
I think the goal is we keep talking about this monthly update that we're basically just talking about the market, whatever's going on in general,
Perfect.
and giving some tips and stuff like that to people that are listening. And like I said, we all have. I think it all comes back to real estate. It's a tough situation right now. We'll see what happens with the tariffs. I guess 30 days from now, when we come back, we can basically see what's taking place and see where the market's at with Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin right now is at 76,000. I'm not even sure. We'll check today's date and we'll check 30 days from now and see where the market's at.
And no one I know have actually been able to cash out for their Bitcoin yet.
Really?
I'm still waiting to see. I said, let me
I see all these
see you
ATM
cash out
machines
your
that say
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, so I just,
let me
I'm not
cash
really
it out
into
and buy
it.
something significant. Let me see a brand new freaking nice car or a house. Then I'll believe you. But I haven't met
Haven't yet.
anyone yet.
Anyway, Steve, John T. Chameleon, thanks so much for joining us to The Problem Solver, and we'll see you in 30 days from now.
All right.
Have a
See
good
ya.
one. Take care.
See ya.